Hello YouTube, welcome back to another Yas Heat lap guide. My name is Sir Foch, and this is the last track remaining for us to do in the 296. Saved it for the last, not because I love it, quite the opposite. I am really not a big fan of lapping this circuit or racing on it. The racing here, not particularly great. The track really doesn't lend itself well for overtaking. And for me, the hot lapping, I just don't really find any joy in the flow of this track. A lot of 180-degree corners, followed with mostly slow speed 90 degrees. So really tough to race in, and I don't find a lot of joy to hot lap here. And on top of that, we have quite a high chicane in the middle, which you do need to sacrifice quite a bit of things in the setup. This being the last video on the 4.8 or 296, we might as well take a look back and compile my thoughts on the car in 1.9. And short summary is that I'm not the biggest fan. I feel like they took away what made the 488 special, that being the really snappy feel to it, really great cornering speed you can take with it. You can kind of corner pretty well with the 296, but it never feels like you're cornering well in this car. It always feels like you're fighting the car that wants to go just slower. It doesn't feel like it is excited to be thrown around and pushed in the corners. It always feels like it wants to understeer, and the setup window is also very narrow. Most of the settings have to be kept to the minimum, otherwise the lap time is just not there. So overall, pretty disappointing car. I'm also going to be switching away from maining this, but nevertheless, let's talk about the references. So for the first corner, the braking point is just between the 150 and 100 meter board. There's like a little wired fence separator there that can be used as a good reference. Here we're braking just before the curb, downshifting to first and then short shifting back to second for the exit. And this one, obviously, flat out, the bump on the inside isn't as deadly as it used to be in the 488. Here we're braking just before the curb and cutting all of that curb on the inside. Braking here just at the rubbered marks. Can go on power quite early here and run quite wide. And now for the chicane, we're braking just about when the curve starts. Can cut a lot there, as you can see, and a lot on the exit as well. The setup handles the curves really well, haven't had any crazy moments, and these two 90-degree corners is just a little tap on the brake. For this next one, it's flat out, but you gotta try to set up a good exit here on the left side so you can take this follow-up corner with as good of a line as possible. As understeery this car is. Here we're braking before the curb, can downshift to first. Can also leave the car in second, can definitely carry more speed than that. Here we're braking like 1.5 car lengths after the banner. Once again, a lot of the short shifting to second. For this one, I also like to lower the TC. Braking before the white line for the last corner. Keep the car in second gear, unlike I did in my hot lap. That definitely cost me like half a tenth or maybe even more. But either way, that is a lap guide for Hungroring. Alright, so here is our setup. We are running quite a lot of negative toe in the rear, as the chicane requires quite a lot of sacrifices. The setup is maybe a little bit on the oversteery side, so taking some of this down could be an option, but there might be better options for that I will point out later. Standard TC going down to 4 in second to last corner seems to be quite helpful. Standard Ferrari stuff, not quite maximum front bump stop range, and not quite maximum rear. And we're using a little bit of springs here, as that goes together well with the super low rake. Once again, because of the chicane, this car really doesn't like to take any chicanes if you have any rake on, so we basically replacing rake with some rear springs. So this is probably one thing you would like to lower if the car is a bit too snappy for you. One click lower will probably be a bit more tame. So that is not an aggressive preset, it's pretty far from it. Softest front dampers, pretty soft rear as well, and as you could see, the rake is very low. This car really is tough to set up. Generally, the most important things in the setup is the bump stop range, the dampers, the roll bar, but yeah, overall, there's a lot of things you don't use, like you would never use nobody would ever go anywhere near this. Generally, softest springs, is the way to go everywhere, which is quite unfortunate. Would be nice to have an actual window to play with, but softest seems to be the best in this car, with some minor exceptions like you see me do here. But either way, let's send it for a hot lap, and I will see you on the next one with a different car.